And we are live. Welcome back. What are you doing with your microphone?
I was just readjusting it.
Oh, this is what I heard.
Sorry. I know that's
sorry to our listeners. I probably shouldn't have done that. We are live. Welcome back. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir.
I'm excited for this weekend, Blake, but at the same time, I am dreading this Notre Dame USC game. It is I want to throw the expectations out the window, so I'm not stressed by it, but I don't think I can. I feel like this is going to be not a very fun game to watch for me. Even though we're probably both, I think we're both picking them, but I don't think this is going to.
You're picking them because you're a fan. I am picking them because I think they're going to win.
See, that has me even more worried. That has me even more worried.
I'm beating you in picks. I'm on a hot streak, buddy. I'm at 60. I'm at 65% the last 4 weeks. What are you talking about?
If you're picking Notre Dame specifically, something's wrong. So something's not adding up. That's my point. Not in my favor.
Why do you say that?
Drunk Vigo makes a really good point. I think you're just doing it to troll me. I think you're just trying to do it to make me feel good, get my hopes up. You're trying to get my hopes up so I feel they have a chance, and then it's just all going to come crashing down after that game.
That's not what I'm doing.
I don't believe you.
You know what I'm doing it for? Let me tell you why I'm doing it. USC is 109th in total defense. They're 130th in the country, which is dead last in explosive plays. They're 90th in the country in rush defense, 113 in passing yards allowed, and 74th on third down. Do I need anything else?
Well, we could pull up Notre Dame's offensive numbers. No. The thing is, and this is what I think the conversation is going to be about later, is if we pull up Notre Dame's offensive numbers specifically over the last 3 games, not from when they played bad teams, they're dumpster fire bad. They are horrendously terrible. So it could be that get-right game for SC's defense. That's what I'm worried about.
Or Notre Dame has faced 3 back-to-back top 25 defenses. Okay, people don't realize Louisville's the number 17th total defense in the country.
That is
Duke
true.
is in the top 12, and Ohio State's in the top 5. So maybe, arguably, they just faced the toughest stretch in college football, and nobody's willing to admit it. See, I do not go into these. I don't go into these picks. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything.
Okay. Can I just say, I don't think I would ever.
Tell me you're proud of me.
I'm not proud of you. I'm more so, I don't think I ever would have seen the day that you would have not made an excuse, but supported Notre Dame in a time of struggle. After the Louisville game, you're coming on here and you're providing context for why they've been struggling. I don't think, I never would have thought that I would have ever heard you say something so supportive of the Fighting Irish until today.
But let me just tell you.
What?
This comes at a price.
There we go.
Okay. If you let me down this weekend, Notre Dame, I am permanently banning Notre Dame on this show.
We can't do that. We just can't. Editorially, we can't do that because Notre Dame is one of the most driving conversation points on this show. So no, I am vetoing that. You can stay silent for 20 minutes and I can talk about them and then we can go move on to the next topic maybe.
I will veto them. We will play rock, paper, scissors. And will veto them. You know what? We will spend all Notre Dame talk for a week.
Well, that works because I think they have their bye after this game. So sure.
Here's the truth. There's no other team in the country that has faced 4 ranked opponents in 4 straight weeks.
Yes.
Okay. So listen, I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm not here to be biased. I'm here to tell the facts and nothing but the truth. So help me God. In the name of the Father and the Son and Catholic Jesus. But it's the truth. Nobody in the country has faced 4 ranked teams. I told you, if you do remember, I told you 4 weeks ago when this stretch was going on, if you might remember a month ago, almost to the day, that this stretch, if they go 3-1, they should be in the top 5. We talked about that ad nauseum, and I got Joe. I had Notre Dame's fans coming after me saying, what are we talking? That would be a massive accomplishment. The game that I had you losing was Ohio State and then winning the next 3. I didn't think you would be potentially 2-2 here.
Well, okay, but I agree with what you're saying, and I do give you credit for saying that. They have had a really difficult stretch. This is the hardest stretch of their season, especially now that they're playing USC.
Right.
But the problem now is that the game that they lost is that the one that they shouldn't have lost. That would have been a nice feather in the cap to say, hey, look how we played. Look how we've performed. And we could easily beat a ranked opponent. But instead they laid a fat egg and they got dunked on. Plain and simple. So now there's a bad taste in her mouth.
That's what she said. We'll also be talking about here tonight. I almost made it through. That's also what she said.
Oh my God.
We also talk about UNC in Miami.
Yes.
Another bounce back game. Another team that has a very bad loss the week before. I think both of them get back right. I do. But we'll talk about UNC in Miami. Also, Tennessee, the big Orange Vols, and Texas A&M. The last time that these teams played, I'm just going to throw this at you. The running back on Tennessee, do you want to know his name? Alvin Kamara.
Oh, wait, really? The last time they played was that long ago?
Yes.
Well, it's a sneaky good matchup, though. It's going to be a fun game if things go according to plan.
Missouri was in the SEC for 10 years before LSU played them.
SEC scheduling is one of the weirdest things to me.
Well,
it will never make sense.
8 years. Yeah, it was 8 years.
Still, that's pretty nuts.
Nuts. So we'll talk about Tennessee and A&M, and then we'll do our picks. But, Joe, I'm just going to throw this out there. There's a new leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah. You're up by one pick. And it's comeback week, baby.
They said it couldn't be done. You said I could not and would not come back and take the lead.
The problem is, Blake, is that we've had too many similar picks, and then there's been like a couple different ones that has helped you build this lead. This week, I'm going full attack here, full aggressive mode, and I'm going against the grain with a bunch of my picks, and I think they're all going to hit. 8-0 week, baby.
The problem from you is that you're just too young and you're not mature enough. You shouldn't have. You're too early in the season to be doing that. You should be.
No. I mean, I'm trusting my gut. You said you started trusting your gut. I'm trusting my gut. That's where I'm going with these picks.
Well, your gut's probably filled with boiled eggs. Anyway, we got a lot to discuss here. Let's not waste any more time in doing that. We got a lot to discuss. Everybody do us a favor and hit the like and share to all those social media groups if you're on Facebook. Continue to help us grow on the book. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, and notification bell. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. And if you're watching us on Fubo TV, welcome. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Don't go anywhere. Notre Dame, USC. I think Joe's going to be impressed by what I got to say. We do that next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. And you know what? I do think that Notre Dame does get back to their winning ways this week. Joe, I agree with all the Notre Dame fans. Your offense is not good right now. It's not dynamic enough. You have a problem with your OC. I don't think he's good enough to bring you to the places that you ultimately want to go. But that doesn't matter this week, because if there is a get-right game and a get-right defense that you can do it against, it's the USC Trojans. Now, just for anybody that's just joining us, or if you're watching the video clip on YouTube, as much as I don't trust Notre Dame's offense, I royally do not trust South California's defense. 109th in total defense. Joe, they are dead last in the country in explosive plays 20 yards or more. Not even Colorado has more explosive, defensively giving up more explosive plays. 70th in rush defense, 113th in passing yards allowed, and 74th on third down conversions. Styles make fights. And you know what Notre Dame is what they always do? We're going to line up and run the football. And we're going to pound it with Estime. We're going to get Love involved. We're going to pound the rock. And it is going to break USC. They have a young middle linebacker in Tackett Curtis who is not ready for this smoke and this action. He is going to be a good player. I think he'll be a good player. He's not ready for this weekend. But you know what the only thing more than the offense that worries me for the Fighting Irish? How beat up are you? How can your pride show me something? Because you know what, Joe? I look at this team and say, man, some of these running plays against Louisville, some of these running plays that you had against Duke, some of these running plays that you had against Ohio State, it's man on man. Mano e mano, zone blocking schemes, get to the second level. And Joe, they gotten beat. Flat out, the right guard, I don't know his name, but I'm watching the film today, and I'm like, they got an issue at right guard. They have a massive issue at right guard. There's no denying that. They're going to keep the ball away from Caleb Williams, and they're going to give up some points. But as an overall team, Notre Dame is better.
Okay, so I have two ways that I'm looking at this game. I have my fan view as a Notre Dame fan, why I'm optimistic. And then I have the realistic outlook on how I think this game is actually going to play out. The Notre Dame fan take is very heavily in line with you just talked about there. USC is a bottom feeder in college football defensively. They're not stopping anyone. And if you pull up the tape, they're not tackling. They're not rallying to the football. It's the same thing over and over again that we've said on a weekly basis. And that favors Notre Dame this weekend on the road in Indiana with presumably potentially bad weather. There's a possibility for it to rain. That all favors Notre Dame, that they're going to run the ball, keep the ball out of the hands of Caleb Williams, and try to control time of possession. I also think statistically, one thing that really stands out to me is that Notre Dame is actually, this is a big misconception with Notre Dame, they're actually 18th in yards per reception. They are one of the most explosive offenses when it comes to picking up long passing plays. The problem is they're just not connecting on a consistent clip. That's what's leading to the interceptions. Guys aren't getting open enough. A lot of issues have happened in the passing game, but when they do connect, it does lead to long splash plays. I think that does set up in favor for Notre Dame to create some of those long plays that they haven't been able to get going up against a very porous secondary. But my realistic take is Notre Dame statistically and also on film as one of the weakest front sevens. They're 108th in team sacks, 118th in team tackles for loss. They're just not generating pressure.
Rush defense,
which is great. But team tackles
I don't think it is.
Wait. Well, okay, it's not. Yes. My point is with that, though, going up against a historically dominant player in terms of improvising in Caleb Williams, I just don't think that they've got the speed off the edge or at outside linebacker to rally to the football to take him down. You could cover perfectly all day against these receivers. Caleb Williams is going to find a way to beat you. And it happened last year. They covered really well. He danced. Somebody eventually got open. He connected. They moved the ball. And that was what killed them. I'm very fearful of that. Realistically, I don't think that sets Notre Dame up for success because athlete on athlete at those specific position groups is going to kill them. That's where I'm at with both these.
I agree with you on the explosive play theory for Notre Dame offensively. Mm-hmm. You're not – I will continue to say this. You're not good enough on the outside. You're not. Not for where you want to be, okay? Yes. You're just not. I think you're an average team on the outside. Look, I love a good tight end. I do. Mitchell Evans, I'm just going to be real. Don't kill me on this. He's having a better season than Brock Bowers is. The catches and the stuff that he's doing is ridiculous. And he's been doing it for a couple of games now against tougher competition. 3 top 25 defenses in a row. Mitchell Evans went for over 100 last week. I promise you.
I don't totally agree with that.
Hold on. Brock Bowers was invincible the first 4 weeks of the season. It's been the last 2 weeks.
I'll concede that.
Okay. Holistically, Mitchell Evans has been having a better overall year. I don't need you to hit explosive plays through the air. I need you to be competent. And you're going to be able to get yards through the air, Joe. There's not a discussion. There's yards to be had for you in the air. But it's really going to be a massive theme for me on this show tonight. Run the football. If you got to run that hoe 50 times, run it. Because what it does, Joe, it keeps Caleb Williams off the field with the new clock rules that the clock's going to just tick, 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 tick. And you can run the ball on them. They are horrible at defending the run. Joe, they're 90th in the country. And by the way, they just had to go into triple overtime against Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, Arizona might be better defensively than we're giving them credit for because they also took Washington to the wire. They also wait.
Okay.
You got to give Arizona some credit when you're taking Washington down to the wire, you're taking USC into overtime, and then you go on the road in the SEC and also go into overtime there. Okay? You have to. But you know whose defense and team overall is better than Arizona? Wait for it. You ready? Notre Dame. They have looked porous. And you know what else, Joe? I'm watching Colorado USC today, and I'm like, I'm going to give USC every benefit of the doubt here. What is the biggest complaint that you said about Deion in Colorado this year? They can't run the ball. They can't run the ball. Joe, they were running all over their ass. You mean to tell me that if Colorado can run up and down the field in L.A., up and down the field, look like a damn circus, that Notre Dame at home at night can't win? There is a reason where they're a 3-point favorite. And let me tell you the reason. Because they know that this team is going to go in there and bully the hell out of USC. USC is flawed. They are a Caleb Williams injury away from being blown out. And you know what else, Joe? Every single team worth a damn, even average teams, Tulane a year ago, Arizona, Colorado, Joe, they beat their ass up front. So you're going to have to convince me as a logical human being that Notre Dame at home at night, right? That game's at night, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Give me the Irish, dude, because I think Audric might go for 200. I'm serious. I am not fanboying on that. If he doesn't go for 150, I'd be shocked. I'd really, really be shocked.
First of all, I do want to bring this, but I'm being annoying resurfacing this. You give Washington all this shit for the way that they played against Arizona. I really think that Arizona is a lot better of a team than people have given them credit for the way that they played with a true freshman quarterback in multiple games to play teams as close as they did. I think that Arizona is a pretty good team. They're not better than Notre Dame. I'm not trying to bring that up for that reason. I'm just reiterating a point from the last show that I did not bring up that I wish I did.
But you know what? You know what those other teams did that Washington didn't?
What?
Score more than 31 points.
Okay. We're done talking about Washington. We're done talking about Washington. I still think that
you brought it up. That's like
wait. What?
You're in a relationship, right?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you what happens when you get married. Okay, can I tell you?
What?
You do something stupid. Then trust me, you're gonna do something stupid. And then 2 weeks later, your wife brings it up to you. Okay, and she's got all the material to lay it to smack it down on your candy ass. Okay, you just try to poke the bear, and the bear bit back.
I'm bringing it back up because you and also everyone in the freaking comments are like, oh, everybody brings up the Texas Tech game. Arizona's a better team than Texas Tech. So I didn't like, that comparison being brought up. I'm moving past that though. I'm very concerned still with Caleb Williams and his capabilities in this game. I'm very afraid of what he can do. And it's been brought up. Somebody said it earlier. If this comes down to a shootout, if USC goes up 2 scores, if they go up 2 scores, Notre Dame's out of the football game. They cannot score quickly enough to climb back into it. They have to go score for score with them.
They have to grind.
You don't have to. Wait. I'm not saying that they need to go shootout mode with them, but every time they score, they need to have some type of a response. They need to grind the clock out, move the ball on a long drive, get in a position, put points on the board. No more of these field goals, no more being soft. Be aggressive. But again, to reiterate the issue with the weather, I think that is really important to talk about that might not get brought up. When was the last time USC played in the rain? It is going to be 50 degrees, and there is a 70% chance of rain right now with 90% humidity.
Which bodes very bad for Caleb Williams, who does not play in those conditions.
I don't know the last time that they've ever played in rain. And people love to do growing up, I'm sure he's played in the rain. If you're not used to doing it on a week-to-week basis, it's not the same thing. I've played in torrential downpours before. This is not a torrential downpour, but trying to play with a wet ball when you haven't had any prep for it the week leading up is daunting as shit. It is very frustrating when you're playing center, when you're playing quarterback, when you're a kicker, punter, snapper, when you're a receiver. All of those things at positions where you're touching the ball every so often, pretty frequently, that ball is going to pop out. And they're going around, dicking around at practice, spraying the punt returns with a water spray. That's not going to do anything. That doesn't prepare you. Turn the sprinklers on if you really want to cause some problems for people. Did you see that video that I'm talking about?
I did see that video.
That's so stupid. It's like everyone lost their mind over when Dion was playing the crowd noise at practice, and everyone's like, wow, look at this extra level of preparation. That's not going to do anything. That's not how you get prepared for the weather.
So listen, I'm going to bring this up because this is a game that I did look at, and I think Eric could be right here. He said, I think that this could be 2017 Notre Dame versus USC. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's that lopsided because of Caleb Williams. I don't know if you're going to keep them below 30. I really don't. But I don't think they're going to keep you below 30 either. I really don't. And the identity, Joe, of this Notre Dame team is running the football. I know that you got Sam Hartman. You got to get Sam Hartman to the break. You got to get Sam Hartman to the bye week because they're not good enough right now. They're not. So I don't need you to try to hit these explosive plays. I need you to get me 8 to 12 yards on every reception. Don't try to hit the 20-yard bombs. If they show you a coverage to do it, okay, fine, whatever. Run the clock, tick, 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 tick. Run the ball with Estime and Love, and you're going to be fine. I promise you. Joe, they're not – USC's defense is not good enough. They're not. And this Notre Dame team is better than a year ago. It doesn't feel like right now.
Yes.
How crazy would it be if Drew Pine went 9-3 and Sam Hartman comes in?
Did worse.
Yeah.
Well, his
didn't Drew Pine throw for like 250 and like 3 scores last year
in this game? Yeah, but he also he made a couple backbreaking mistakes. I still don't think Drew Pine was very good. I know this might get painted by USC fans as us saying that this is like a lock for Notre Dame to win. I don't think that's the case, but again, I'm starting to see more and more why my fan side, why I'm very optimistic, and why I think that ND can win this game. It's also out there on film how a similar style team can beat USC. And I'm talking about the first time Utah played USC, not when Caleb Williams got hurt.
And the first time when it was at them.
It was very high scoring. There was a very good tight end named Dalton Kincaid who had 200 receiving yards in that game, and they fed him. They ran the ball. If they know how to, I would just go back, pull up that tape, and just rewatch the shit out of that. And I would pull as many different things from that game tape, and I would just use it because they can't cover tight ends over the past couple of years, and they can't stop the run. You got to rely on both those things.
You know the coordinator that I'm talking about when I say this. I was told that an SEC coach one time, okay, offensive coordinator, watched a game against Alabama, okay, and ran the same plays in order that a team that they lost to, okay, and almost beat them. So to your point, I've heard stories like now they're calling the plays that are remotely close to theirs. You know, they're calling it's not the same plays, but you get what I'm saying. I do think look, I'm taking Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame is a favorite for a reason. I don't think Vegas loses money. Okay. Their goal is not to lose money. So when that line came out, -2.5, I had to take a long, hard pause, look at it, and say, well, what did they see that I don't? And I think the truth is that USC couldn't stop the run or could not stop a bloody nose with a tampon. They can't, Joe. They're worse in some areas. They are worse defensively this year than they were all of last year.
I hope you're right. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
I hope you're right.
UNC and Miami. So North Carolina and Miami tee it up this week. So Joe, here is another scenario. We just got done talking about Notre Dame and their loss to Louisville last week and how gut-wrenching that was. Nobody in the country, or maybe even this year, has a more gut-wrenching loss than Miami from last week, because we all know it by now. They try to run the ball. They should have taken a knee. They didn't. Haynes King goes down the field, scores, and Georgia Tech wins the game. Now that North Carolina and Miami are playing each other this week, everybody's like, oh, Miami sucks. They're not any good. North Carolina, Drake May, you got Tez Walker back. Well, I got some news for you, buddy. Miami defensively is really freaking good. They're really freaking good in that front seven. Joe, they're the number 1 team in the country in rush defense. They're number 13 in the country in rush offense. So what does that tell me? They are really physical on both lines of scrimmage. You know who isn't? North Carolina's offensive line is in for a rude awakening if they think that they're not in for an outright dogfight this weekend against Miami. Here's the issue, though. They have a potential number 2 overall pick in Drake May that they're facing on Saturday. But I do wonder if Miami's front seven can get to Drake May and rattle him a little bit, kind of like what South Carolina did in week 1, but teams are so much different than they are in week 1. But I don't think UNC has a prayer at running the football. The last 3 weeks, Hampton has been their leading rusher. 46 yards, 66 yards, and 78 yards. Now, the caveat to that is in 2 of those games, Drake May threw for over 400 yards, but when they're trying to put the game away against Syracuse a week ago, they couldn't run the football. Joe, their leading rusher had to get a 14-yard carry and then a 9-yard carry to get him to 78 yards with seconds ticking off the clock. Like, if they would have just kneeled the ball, so to speak, he would have been around 45, 50 rushing yards. It would have been 3 weeks in a row where you're under 70 yards rushing from your leading guy. I think people are sleeping on Miami. I know Van Dyke. I get it. He had a bad game last week. But, Joe, I got to lean the Hurricanes on this one, man. I think their defense is going to be a little too much.
Look, I think that what you've painted here, yes, the strengths for Miami, they're obvious. So you throw on the tape and their offensive line gets pushed as soon as the ball snapped. They are creating wide open rushing lanes that they're able to just plow through opposing defenses. Chaney and Parrish have been a really explosive running back duo. They're picking up huge chunks of yards, by the clip. They've got some talented receivers. And that defensive line, Leonard Taylor and company, I said this the last time, they are freaking dangerous. And they create so much penetration on a play-to-play basis. UNC has to be gap sound. They have to be assignment sound on their offensive line if they want to win this game. But I really do think, and I said this the last show, and I got killed for it when I said leading into the Miami Texas A&M game, that I criticized Tyler Van Dyke. And for a second, after he played really well against Texas A&M, I started to feel bad about saying that I jumped to a conclusion. I'm sticking by what I said. Tyler Van Dyke is a very, I'm going to be a little nicer here, a very average college quarterback that when the scheme is opened up and everything goes according to plan, the run game's working, he's got wide open receivers, he's going to play well. He's going to put up some nice stats. But what we saw against Georgia Tech is the really just horrible, bad version of Tyler Van Dyke. This is my new favorite thing to talk about with quarterbacks. He's got the Daniel Jones trait in him where he sits, the wheel starts spinning in his head. Nothing's really working. Nothing's really opening up. And you watch him deliver the ball late to covered guys. You watch him deliver the ball late to guys that were open to a defender that puts his arm up. I sent you a video of the all-22 angle of one of his interceptions. I don't know who the hell he thought he was going to throw it to. There were more defenders in the area than there were receivers, and it was blatantly picked off. I just think that for his balance,
like even ran the wrong route though, because that's a timing route. He's looking off the safety and then throwing it. Not all interceptions are made equally.
Okay, I understand that, but it's difficult for us to know if that was an incorrectly run route. So I'm going off of, and plus I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt because if you watch the whole game, he made a lot of similar mistakes. My point is here, North Carolina's defense has improved significantly since last year. They are a lot better, and their secondary isn't elite, but it's strong. I really think that secondary is in a position to where they don't need to be aggressive and send a ton of pressure, drop back, throw out a bunch of disguise coverages, try to confuse him. If he turns the ball over a couple times, I would trust Drake May enough to take advantage of those with short fields to put points on the board. Not sitting here slamming Miami. I think Miami's good, but I think that the advantage here in the head-to-head quarterback battle is pretty significant.
Well, I would agree with you if the whole game was just played by the quarterbacks. Now, I will say that when you have evenly matched teams or somewhat evenly matched, I'm going quarterback. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the better head coach? I always do that. But this game's not evenly matched, in my opinion. I think Miami
I don't see why you see there's such a massive gap.
Because,
I don't think
Joe, where's the game?
It's close.
Answer this question. Where's the game won?
It's won in the trenches, yes.
Okay. And UNC ain't got nothing to stop them because let me tell you what's going to happen here. You ready? You better clip it. Miami's O-line is going to not look like what everybody else that UNC's played looks like. South Carolina is playing 3 freshmen, true freshmen, off the bus. And everybody's like, oh, they look so good. Well, no shit. They're playing 3 true freshmen on their offensive line. Syracuse, they can't even spell O-line. Okay?
All right, that's fair.
That O-line is going to get serious push against UNC. But here's the thing. And why I think Drake May could have issues. Mm-hmm. Miami's secondary is not putrid. They're not bad. Now, I would say
no, it's a good secondary. They've got a couple NFL guys in that secondary. I've
had
talked
some NFL dudes
very
in that
highly
secondary.
of that group.
Drake May potentially might not have any form of a running game. Maybe none. Joe, they're playing bad teams. And I'm talking about really bad teams.
Yeah.
Syracuse, everybody's like, oh, they're undefeated. They're a good team. And they play Clemson and get their teeth kicked in. Well, then the next week, Clemson is in a dogfight with Wake Forest. A dogfight. They cannot run the football. And Drake May, I get the Syracuse 40-7, whatever. Minnesota, he had to throw for 414. Pitt, he had to throw for over 300. And Pitt gave them a game. And I promise you, they could not run the ball. And they were trying everything they could to get yards on the ground, and they couldn't. This is the best front seven that UNC has played. The best front seven. It's the best O-line that they've played. And if you cannot run the ball on putrid teams, App State, if you cannot run the ball effectively enough, I promise you, you're in for a rude awakening, bud. Now,
I don't – okay, wait.
Okay.
The offensive line thing with Miami, I don't think that really works in this conversation, because if we watch the Georgia Tech film and we watch what he did, he has all the time in the world. And they ran the ball really well. They ran the ball really freaking well.
That's my point.
Tyler Van Dyke blew multiple drives with silly interceptions. If you put him in a position, that's why I'm saying prioritize stopping the pass. Let them run the ball. Let them do their thing. Prioritize stopping the pass. He's going to make a mistake eventually. That's the type of a guy that he is. That was against Texas A&M. They went all out in stopping their rushing attack, and they did an effective job of it. I think that they didn't, what was it, like a ridiculously low number of rushing yards.
Miami only ran for 77 yards. Right.
And because they did that, their bad secondary, Texas A&M's bad secondary, had so many wide open holes. How many wide open receivers did Tyler Van Dyke throw to? It happened very often in that game, and that was
really big time clutch throws in that game.
He did, but he was in a rhythm and was confident because all of those things he was able to connect on a lot of wide open throws. My point is that game shows us that was the wrong approach. Let them run the ball and then hope that he eventually makes a mistake, which he will. It's what teams do with Daniel Jones. Teams do that all the time with Daniel Jones.
You know who else had really bad games? Or I shouldn't say really bad games, but moderately bad games under Cristobal?
Who? Justin Herbert? No. We're not. I'm not comparing.
No, there were multiple. What was Herbert's biggest flaw coming out? Just stay with me here.
His biggest flaw was it was a leadership character concern for
turnovers. Remember, they said that he fumbled the ball. They said he had small hands, he fumbled the ball too much, and that he turned the ball over too much. I think it's a Cristobal thing, personally. But that's just me. I get what you're saying. If UNC wins, it's because Van Dyke screwed the pooch. Okay? But as an overall team, meaning everything around the quarterbacks, everything else, offensive line, receivers, defense, special teams, dudes, outright dudes. Miami is a better overall team than UNC is. What I am banking on here, okay, is that Tyler Van Dyke, although I agree with you, I'm going to say he's a little bit of more of an above average quarterback, okay? Because, look, I watched Coastal Carolina. Thank you for the money. But I watched Coastal Carolina and App State last night. And I'm going to just tell you something. North Carolina, you said this the other week. App State's not a good football team. They're not a good football team. Who did App State play this year?
Oh, you're implying that they played North Carolina? Yes, they played them close. They went to overtime.
They could not run the ball, and you got Coastal Carolina kicking their teeth in. Bro, they're kicking. And so my point is, you're saying let them run the ball. Joe, you ain't got to let them do nothing. They're going to take it from you. They're going to take it from look, Drake May's going to have to be Superman, buddy. He's going to have to make throws that you're like, All
but
right.
here's the wonderful thing. Here's the wonderful thing, though. He's capable of doing that, and he's done it before. He's taken over games. He's going to do it again.
He has, but I'm just now the McCollum kid. He's a really good receiver. He had, I think, like 135 yards against Syracuse and like 165 something against Minnesota. I don't like teams with that much talent that get embarrassed because Joe, Miami's on the cutting board here. The hopes and dreams that they have are on the cutting board. And teams that usually are a dog in a corner, okay, having to come out swinging, I don't like it for UNC. And I don't think UNC's been tested like this. Okay. We got a lot to get to. Texas A&M and Tennessee. Let's go through this one really quickly because we got to get to our picks. Joe, in reference to, so Texas A&M goes to Knoxville this weekend. Tennessee is coming off a bye. And Texas A&M just lost to Alabama, which, by the way, if there's one thing that me and you have in common, it's the hatred that Alabama fans have for us. By the way, I mean, the comments are ridiculous. I don't know. They hate
I haven't bothered reading those comments.
They hate us. Man, I don't know if this A&M team's got it this week. I don't. What is this D line going to do? Now, parts of this, to me, is one of the most intriguing games of the weekend because Joe Milton can't throw the football. Joe, they're having to run the ball ad nauseum to win football games.
Wait, so the funniest part about that, and I'm glad that you bring that up. So he's struggling. He's turning the ball over. His completion percentage is bad. The thing that it doesn't make any sense to me, I'm watching the tape and I'm like, why are they throwing the ball so much? They throw the ball like 30 plus times a game when you've got Joe Milton, who's a good runner, and you've got two really good running backs with Jalen Wright and Jabari Small. They should have 45 plus rushing attempts amongst that entire group.
They're not that far. They're not that far. I think they have like 38 per game.
There's just some drives though where they'll go like 3-4 plays in a row throwing, and they should stop doing that.
But you know what? This is what makes Josh Heupel a genius, and why I think Tennessee's going to win this weekend. I think that A&M is a dying dog to some degree, pun intended. But you know what Heupel does when they're not running the football? He is going to put 4 receivers out wide. They're going to play. I don't know, what would you call that? It's not a bunch, but it's kind of a bunch where the 2 receivers are lined up right behind each other, and he's going to throw screens. You're going to have to cover it. Sorry, you're going to have to cover it. And then when you go out and you get out of the box, he's going to run the football. Tennessee needs a big win, okay? And I think that they're going to get it here. I just don't like this for A&M going on the road after a devastating loss at home. And there's a lot of chirping in Aggie land this week after Jimbo and this team lost. There's a lot of questions about him as a coach, even more now because of the way that he called that game. Joe, here's the truth. All week, you know what we should have been talking about? Let me tell you what we should have been talking about. Because we should have been talking about A&M beating Bama because they gave that game away. They gave that game away. And they got dudes all over the place. Brother, if Deion Sanders was at A&M right now, they'd be undefeated. If a better coach was at A&M right now, and I even throw Deion in there because it's his first year as a Power 5 head coach. Any other coach in the country with that talent, they would be undefeated. And we'd be talking about a one-loss Tennessee and an undefeated Texas A&M. But I think they're done. But the thing that gets me, though, if A&M's defensive line shows up and you put the ball in Joe Milton's hands, this could be a long game. Now, A&M's not out of winning the SEC West. They're not. They're one SEC loss. They could run the table and win out and go into the SEC championship game.
Very optimistic. That's very optimistic.
Well, I don't like saying that teams are dead, their season's dead, because it's not dead. It's just not. Mathematically, it's not dead. It will be Saturday, though.
Yeah, math's for nerds. We're not nerds. Come on now.
Have you looked in the mirror?
Okay, just because I wear the glasses makes me a nerd?
It's not his fault he's a nerd. I don't think he's a nerd, dude.
I think, though, that what you're saying, Texas A&M needs this win. But, dude, Tennessee is not what they were last year. Tennessee's not a top 10 team, but they're still one of the better teams in a down year in the SEC. I think as they try to figure out this offensive identity, this is a really good week for them to do so, to figure out how they can really use the run game to galvanize the offense and stop setting up Joe Milton for failure. If Joe Milton throws the ball too much, it probably means that they're going to lose the game. If they lost the game, I could probably say, did he have 35 plus passing attempts? Oh, he did. Oh, he threw a pick and had a fumble. Oh, yeah, it was because Joe Milton made some mistakes. He's not a bad quarterback, but if he's one of those guys that needs to be properly supported and everything needs to go his way and the run game needs to be moving. But as we saw against Florida, you take the run game out, he starts to overthink. He can't really see the field that well at times, and it leads to mistakes. I think what scares the shit out of me, if I'm Texas A&M, is how good that defensive line is. Dude, part of me wonders if
Joe, can we take a moment of silence for them being the best defensive line in the country and this team being complete ass?
Number 1 in team sacks, and they're number 3 in teams tackles for loss. James Pierce Jr., I sent you a clip that I pulled up where he planted the South Carolina offensive lineman with basically one arm, what he did. That dude is a freak, and he's a true sophomore. Imagine if Tennessee had that defensive line last year. They would have won it. They would have been in the national championship.
Well, I got to tell you something. Tennessee defensively, they get after it.
They're good. It's weird.
Good. So Heupel was asked this week. I don't know if you saw this. Heupel was asked this week, hey, why does everybody think that you're only a passing offense and you running the ball so effectively? And he goes, because they don't watch the games. They run the ball, man. And I know our buddy Sean Anderson's in here, and he said,
I don't know if that's my Sean Anderson. I was wondering that if that happens to be another Sean Anderson. But sorry, continue.
Regardless, they do run the ball effectively. I don't know. I think they're going to have to put the ball in Milton's hands and make him throw it because I think this D-line is too good at A&M. But you know what gets me behind that, though, Joe? Like what really just – I can't stop thinking about it when I think of this game. Heupel's got 2 weeks. Heupel has 2 weeks with Joe Milton to scheme up this defense. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I'm going to go to the Vols, and here's another thing. That game is in Knoxville. If this game were in Aggie land, I'd probably feel a different way. It's not. I think the Aggies roll. I mean, I think the Vols roll here, man. That's just me. But you want to get to the picks really quickly?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's talk about our good friends over at Home Field Apparel. We'll be right back. We'll give you our picks. There's a new leader in the clubhouse. We're back next.
Ruffino and Joe Show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, which is the best, without a doubt, premium collegiate apparel brand that is out there. They have over 150 different colleges that you can choose from, whether you're an Illinois fan or a Rutgers fan, maybe you're an LSU fan like Blake, or maybe you're an Alabama fan, whatever it is, even Idaho. They have so many different designs for so many different football programs that I can guarantee you're going to find some great stuff to help root for your favorite team. I've already gotten my Notre Dame stuff. Blake has his LSU stuff. Make sure you head on over to homefieldapparel.com to check out your team's collection of clothing apparel that they have on the website. And when you do so, when you check out, make sure you use promo code RuffinoJoe to get 15% off your order. That is RUFFINO, Ruffino Joe. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and get your college gear today.
Something that Jane Daniels is going to hear in a couple months. But we have a new Joe. Can I not just get excited for my quarterback being a Heisman contender?
Matt Sims did say before we taped today that he thought that Jane Daniels has been a better prospect or is physically a better prospect than Bryce Young was. and that sparked the whole debate. So Matt likes him. Ryan doesn't.
All right.
Just throwing that out there.
This is going to come out, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to seem complete bias. You know that I have a guy that was in my wedding that's been an NFL scout for about 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
He said the same thing. He said mainly due to the fact, based off of what we've seen from Jaden, just really quickly, the way that Jaden can get out of pressure with his legs, you don't teach, right? That was his main thing. He goes, Blake, they had the same accuracy. They think that Jaden has a bigger arm, okay, down the field arm than Bright. We're going way down the weeds on that, but you know that I have a really good friend that I would sacrifice my life for that's been in that business, and I trust him. By the way, throwing this out there, he literally drafted a first ballot Hall of Famer, 2 of them. So I'm just
and not to like my take on Daniels, and from what I've kind of heard a lot of different people say in the scouting community, there are a chunk of people that like him. There is a fear that his ability to sense pressure and then handle contact is not good because his frame's really thin and he does not know how to avoid contact. That's the difference between him and Bryce. Bryce knows how to avoid it. And Jaden doesn't.
We'll talk about that.
Right.
We got to get picks. All right. Yeah. There's a new leader in the clubhouse on these picks. I have overtaken Joe. I am 24-20. Joe is 23-21. Yeah. Don't forget that this segment, is brought to you by our good friends over at Home Field Apparel. Use that promo code Ruffino Joe to get 15% off. That's RUFFINO Joe for your 15% off. So Joe, on the left, we've talked about most of these games. We talked about Oregon and Washington. I'm going with Oregon. You're going with Washington. I don't know. Do you want to rehash anything else on that one?
No, I mean, I'm already bought in on that. As I've explained on this show before, I have to pick Washington because me keeping this stupid beard is contingent on that. So I'm sticking with Washington.
Okay, I'm staying with Oregon. Again, talking to teams that can run the football, Washington is one of them. We just talked about Notre Dame. We just talked about Tennessee and A&M. Joe and I both are going with Notre Dame and Tennessee. Oregon State and UCLA. I am going with the Beavers yet again. You are going with the Bruins.
This was a toss-up for me, and I think that what's gone under-talked about, UCLA's defensive line is really good, and I think if you can create some problems for DJU, they can get the bag there for UCLA.
I think Oregon State's just too physical. I think
they are. Their offensive line's really freaking good.
They're way too physical. And here's another thing. I got to see a little bit more from Dante Moore, okay?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they're winning games when he's played bad, which is really,
correct. Weird. But you can't do that against Oregon State. You cannot turn the ball over against them. I think he has a couple of turnovers and gives Oregon State the win. I was really iffy on that one too. Miami UNC. We just got done talking about that. Joe's going North Carolina. I'm going Miami. Can I just say this for the record? And I was trying to leave it for the picks. I don't like that pick. I do not. No, I don't like it. But
I love how you waited until it wasn't going to be in the clipped segment that's going to be posted because the Miami fans are going to be all like, Blake's the smartest man ever. He's got great football knowledge. Joe's a big dumb bozo. And then now you're backing off on it. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I don't like the pick for this reason. I don't like that UNC has Drake May. So if I lose that, I'm like, yeah, I understand it. All right.
That pisses me off because that was literally my whole argument.
Oklahoma State and Kansas.
I hate you so much.
I told you that I had a surprise with Miami and UNC. There it is.
You anger me so much. Let's go through the rest.
Oklahoma State and Kansas. Joe, I don't like. So Oklahoma State last week, massive win. Gundy is really good in the month of October. Like wins a crap load of games. By the way, he's like 90% at winning games in October. and Kansas doesn't have Jalen Daniels. Give me the Cowboys.
I'm a little iffy for that reason. The Gundy's a good coach. I just think, though, that even without Jalen Daniels, this Kansas team's good enough to beat up on the mid-tier Big 12 teams this year. And let's just be honest. OK State's, they've shown some signs of life, but that South Alabama loss, I think, kind of clarifies that's a middle of the pack type team this year.
True, but we've seen teams, Michigan, LSU, that have been beaten by Group of Five or FCS opponents that have went up and gone and played in New Year's Six bowls. Sometimes, as people will say, it happens. All right, Missouri and Kentucky. We are going on the right side of this bracket, right side of this board. We don't agree on anything.
No.
Missouri and Kentucky. I just don't think that Kentucky can score enough to keep up with the absolute Megatrons that Missouri has on the outside. They don't have anybody on their team. There's nobody in the state of Kentucky outside of the city of Louisville that can stop Luther Burden. Kentucky's offense or defensive pass yards allowed is almost dead last in the SEC. Shout out to Vandy. The only reason that Kentucky's pass defense isn't the worst in the SEC is because Vandy's in it.
That's not going to bode well for them. I just think it's a bounce-back game. You got embarrassed against Georgia. You're pissed off. Ray Davis gets the ground game rolling a little bit. This one's also a little bit more on the riskier side. I feel like these are – I don't know what the lines are on them off the top of my head because I didn't bet on these this week.
It's a 2.5-point favorite, which basically –
it's a pick-em.
It's a pick-em.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Most of these last ones are pick-ems, and I think it could kind of go either way. I don't think it's a lopsided one way or the other.
I agree. God, please, sweet baby Jesus, because I picked Notre Dame, you give me these victories. Duke and NC State. Riley Leonard is out. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters one bit, one iota, because Mike Elko is my spirit animal. Give me the Blue Devils.
I'm all in on Duke. I like Duke. I feel this. I don't know why. I talked about gut feeling earlier. This is my one pick that I've got that gut feeling that they could show up and lay an egg and North Carolina State pulls it out.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Sing with me. I got that feeling inside my bones. What are you doing?
I'm not going to sing with you. We're on a delay. That wouldn't have worked.
I need a new co-host. I am taking applications. Please send me DMs on Twitter with your full resume.
Find one that can sing.
I know. I suck at it too. All right. See y'all Wednesday. I'm fired up for this weekend, Joe. Notre Dame. Take the money line. Take the points. It doesn't matter. The Fighting Irish are going to take it this weekend. We'll see y'all Sunday. Peace. Oh, yeah.